Hello, dear friends. This is Sofya Dorinskaya. I am a psychiatrist and the head of the Center for Medical Information. I am recording this video as a continuation of my previous video, a possible cause of cancer. I promised you a few more videos, and this is the third video regarding possible causes of cancer that I am recording. Let's start by understanding the term metaplasia. Epithelium. Metaplasia is a reversible transformation process in epithelial cells, where some mature cells are substituted and replaced by other cell types, but they still stay strictly categorized within their own species-specific type. How can this be explained in simple terms to a person? In other words, the cell becomes different from what it is supposed to be. It functions incorrectly. And this cell, since it is abnormal, is not the cell that should be in this place. Naturally, it should be attacked by the immune system, but it's abnormal there, you see? The immune system should recognize it as abnormal. So, there is such a phenomenon as epithelial metaplasia. We even have a detailed article available on the internet, which is a scientific article in the field of fundamental medicine, written by the researcher Dorinskaya, who specifically writes that epithelial metaplasia occurs. The cause lies in genetic factors, that is, it's some kind of genetic malfunction. And epithelial metaplasia is considered a precancerous condition. The cause of this precancerous condition is genetic factors. And now, I really want all of those individuals who have been writing to me recently claiming that I found my entire body of work and research solely on the findings of doctors from the middle of the 20th century, to pay very close attention. This message is specifically for you. Here I am reading you a modern doctor's work, which states that epithelial metaplasia, or a precancerous condition, has a genetic origin. And now I will read to you from Professor Lepsky's book, Hypovitaminosis in Childhood. This book was published by us. Well, republished, yes. The original edition came out in 1953. We republished this book. And now it can be purchased at the Sofya Dorinskaya Center for Medical Information. So what does Professor Lepsky write? He writes that the most thoroughly studied are the morphological changes occurring in the epithelial lining of the mucous membranes. And here he says that these changes are metaplasia of the epithelium. I didn't specify which morphological changes. These are morphological changes due to deficiency, signs of vitamin deficiency, and what happens in the human body. For example, intestinal cells are not supposed to keratinize. A sign of vitamin deficiency is the keratinization of non-keratinizing epithelium. And when the epithelium in the intestinal wall becomes keratinized, that's when metaplasia occurs. We get cells appearing that shouldn't be there, because what was there before has already keratinized. So metaplasia of the epithelium is a clinical sign, a histological sign of vitamin A deficiency. In the mucous membrane of the uterus, epithelial metaplasia can interfere with the implantation of a fertilized egg. Epithelial metaplasia has also been found in the excretory ducts of various glands, lacrimal, salivary, sebaceous, sweat, pancreatic, as well as in the glands of the mucous membrane of the intestines, and so on. That is, people, based on a vast amount of material, clinical material and autopsy data. Autopsies are examinations of people who died with a reliably diagnosed vitamin A deficiency. Scientists established that epithelial metaplasia is a diagnostic criterion for vitamin A deficiency. And this was almost 70 years ago. But now, so-called modern medicine has classified this as some kind of genetic issue, some kind of pathology. And now, with this genetic pathology, you supposedly can't do anything at all. Because the only criterion for evidence in medicine is the result. This is the only criterion for evidence in medicine. So if you base your reasoning on the idea that metaplasia, epithelium, and precancerous conditions are genetic, if you believe that, then you are defenseless. You just give up and say, well, you ended up with a low-quality body, so you should just be thrown onto the scrap heap of history. Because in fact, you are telling the person that they are genetically defective, that their epithelial metaplasia is their fault. But in reality, the person has a vitamin A deficiency. And when you know this information, you can take control of the situation, you can cure this person. And if we compare this data, for example, with Professor Rice, I already showed you this book where I showed you, remember in that video about cancer, I showed you what the heels of a person look like, what the skin of a person suffering from pellagra looks like. They have this kind of hyperkeratosis on the soles, and their skin peels off from the heels in layers. This is one of the signs of pellagra. So Professor Rice writes to us in this book, Hypovitaminosis and Diseases of Vitamin Deficiency. So from a practical point of view, let me find it now. Pellagra, unlike any other vitamin deficiency disease, is largely caused by a deficiency of several vitamins. It is a multivitamin deficiency. For example, the prolonged stage of pellagra and vitamin A deficiency. In other words, the professor is telling us that pellagra never comes alone. It is always accompanied by other vitamin deficiencies. And remember, I told you about a clinical case from this book, Avitaminosis and Hypovitaminosis by Professor Slepsky, where they describe how a young woman died of pellagra, and during her autopsy, the only finding was epithelial overgrowth in the stomach, in the gastrointestinal tract. And I said that most likely when we are dealing with cancer originating from epithelial tissue, we are most likely dealing with pellagra. So here is our second, so to speak, coin in this piggy bank. Epithelial metaplasia is a precancerous condition, the cause of which is a vitamin A deficiency. And pellagra itself, when it doesn't come alone, so to speak, it brings along other vitamin deficiencies as its companions. Here, the two have joined forces. One causes a precancerous condition of the epithelium, and the other causes its proliferation. And there you have it, cancer originating from epithelial tissue. Do you understand? And I want to say that this is wisdom. This is basic wisdom, because what they're writing now is just garbage. It's really garbage. Because what they've written here, so-called fundamental medicine, maintains the claim that it is of genetic origin, right? In the mucous membranes of the stomach, esophagus, in gastritis, peptic ulcers, cancers. That's absolutely nothing. This is real medicine. This is real medicine. Because you take it, you understand what's in front of you, and you can turn back time, reverse the situation. Well, of course, if it's not too late, if the cancer itself hasn't already destroyed the organs and systems so much, and if the metastases haven't already filled the body to such an extent that it simply can't physically survive. That's it. Medicine. And this is the situation when we can take control of the disease and turn it back. Again, I want to repeat myself. My personal opinion is why we are now seeing a surge in cancer. Because first of all, people are hungry. People can't eat enough meat. Doctors have completely stopped doing this, teaching such topics as hypo and avitaminosis. They don't know what needs to be prescribed. And the next thing is the widespread obsession with diets. Because for a person not only to have vitamin A in the body, but for it to be absorbed, fat is needed. And now we see these images of people, women, who have absolutely no subcutaneous fat tissue. And we know that young girls are simply exhausting themselves with these diets. Well, there you have it. It's simply a path to the grave. It's a path to the grave. So ideally, of course, there are still unexplored areas in medicine. But on the other hand, there are also vast unexplored territories and forgotten data waiting for people. So it's the same thing. Death. And diseases that have appeared from who knows where, and no one knows how to cure them. So, as I understand it, if you want to find the answer to a question, you can find it. I hope the video was once again helpful. I answered some of your questions. And as a doctor, I urge you, please eat and please feed your children. Because the first reason a person starts to die is from hunger. It's from hunger. And next, you need to eliminate vitamin deficiencies and try not to get them. That is, you need to know how to properly cook food, how to store it correctly, and which nutrients you need to manage these conditions during the periods when it's necessary. This was Sofya Dorinskaya with you. All the best. Goodbye.